I'm Kendra Cook, your host for the DCTV Daily News program out of Dove Creek, Colorado. The Dolores County Broadcasting Network is the producer of DCTV with support from the Southwest Colorado TV Translator Association. That's the special district association responsible for bringing the area free-to-access TV stations over the air by antenna. This is a community TV station, so if there is a news story or event information that you would like to share, you can contact us. The phone number is 970-677-4119. And if you're a business or organization, we welcome you to find out about sponsorship opportunities for banners or video segments run on the channel. This is the Tuesday program for June 9th, 2020. DCTV Daily News. First it was to wear a mask or not, now it's to gather or assemble or not. Too many inconsistencies are making this phase of living with the Project COVID-19 very difficult. KJC-TV News reported on the Montrose County Commissioners having asked for another variance from the governor's orders office, but in the midst of protests and a pandemic, one of them says that the governor's office is sending mixed signals. After days of protests around the Western Slope and the state, Montrose County Commissioner Roger Rash is calling out the state's, quote, safer at home order after Governor Polis showed support for those expressing their First Amendment right to protest. Quote, why is it fair for them to congregate, but it's not for a church or a business? Rash said. Specifically, his problem lies with the capacity caps on churches and restaurants. Both are allowed 50% of their capacity or up to 50 people. I think it's just not fair that one group can gather and another cannot, and you have to be limited on the people you can have in your building, Rash said. Montrose County has asked for another variance to the governor's orders after their first one was granted at the end of May. Quote, I believe we asked for up to 175 if I remember right, Rash said. Public health officials are still keeping a close eye on the virus data. And the order does say that there's only allowed for 10 people to gather, even if you have a gathering outside. Quote, the virus is still amongst us. We have never said that it's gone away. It is still here. We are overall much lower than we were in the early part of April, said Joe Adragna with Montrose County Public Health. According to the State Health Department, the county has 190 positive cases of the virus. As of last week, the county said 155 of those people had recovered. Quote, they should wear a mask, simple but effective interventions that will decrease the spread of the virus. By us community members doing our part, it allows us to get these variance applications, Adragna said. Quote, I'm saying wear your mask, practice social distancing, but if you're going to open things up for one group of people, you have to do it for the rest, Rash said. It's still not clear when the county will hear back about the second variance request. And here in Dolores County, our numbers are still at 0 for positive tested cases. And now let's take a look at our local weather. That was quite some weekend. I'm sorry I missed Monday. I was out with a dentist appointment. But today on Tuesday, we are finally getting a little warmer, sunny with a high near 64 degrees with north-northwest winds 10 to 15 miles an hour still. And those north winds are making things feel a little chillier. We did have reports across the county where there were some snow flurries last night. Tonight, again clear with a cold low around just 40 degrees, which is a lot better than last night. North-northwest winds continue at 5 to 15 miles an hour, becoming east-southeast in the evening. Into Wednesday, we're looking for another sunny day and a little warm up, a high near 74 degrees, but those northeast winds at 5 to 10 miles an hour, which are kind of light, will continue and shift to the west in the morning. For Wednesday night, we're looking for another clear night with a low around 45 with west-northwest winds just 5 miles an hour, becoming light and variable after midnight. So Thursday's looking warmer, quite warmer, with a sunny day and a high near 82 degrees, with the calm wind becoming southwest just 5 miles an hour in the afternoon, but we could have some gusts to 20 miles an hour for Thursday afternoon. Into Thursday night, clear mostly with a low around 51 degrees. And warmer still for Friday, sunny with a high near 86 degrees. Friday night, partly cloudy, a low around 56 degrees. Now for the weekend, we're looking for Saturday, a slight chance of showers sneaks in and thunderstorms in the afternoon. Mostly sunny with a high near 83 degrees. For Saturday night, mostly clear and a low around 52. And for sunny Sunday, there will be a high near 81 degrees. Sunday night, mostly clear and a low around 51. Have a great week, everyone. And now back to the news. KUNC reported on the status of a Colorado ballot initiative's journey with a photo Adam Reyes. From on top of a trailer mounted with massive speakers, Denver Public School Board Secretary Tay Anderson stopped a Black Lives Matter march a few blocks in on Sunday to to make an announcement many were hoping for. Quote, Director Jennifer Bacon, Vice President of the school board, and I are proud to announce that we have the votes to officially end the contract with DPD Denver Police Department and DPS Denver Public Schools, Anderson said to cheers and applause. We still will have safe and welcoming schools for all. It's our time to end the school to prison pipeline with bold actions. The march was part of a protest planned for DPS teachers, students, and families. Later in the march, Anderson laid out a broad plan for how he wants the money to be used. According to the Denver Post, the contract is worth $721,403 annually. We will substitute that with mental health support, with restorative justice, with counselors, he said to cheers. Many in the crowd had signs advocating for similar changes. Bacon and Anderson announced that the resolution to end the contract with DPD on Friday, if passed, it will remove what are known as school resource officers from the district's schools. There are also 18 of the officers across more than 200 schools in DPS. The resolution would phase them out by 2021. One of the district's counselors, Jared Lewis, was at the march, and he works at Northfields High School. The 28-year-old said that he needed to be there marching because he's Black and to support his students, more than 50 of whom he saw out there protesting too. Quote, I think some schools do have really good SROs, he said, SROs who have related to students, connected with students, and can show those communities that police aren't all bad, that there are people that they can trust and build that relationship with. But he emphasized that he doesn't think every SRO is that good to students and that he supports the contract's end. Overall, I think it's going to be a really awesome opportunity for students to get the more mental health support that they need instead of being treated as if they were criminals for experiencing the same emotions as their white counterparts, Lewis said. Shawnette Gillespie, who is a Denver mother who joined the march because she wanted to give a voice to those impacted by systemic racism and oppression, she says she has been talking to her daughters about racism since they were 5. From a Black household, that conversation becomes important, Gillespie said. She was marching with her children, one an 11-year-old DPS student named Jordan Brewer, and the other a 21-year-old alum named Dazia Reynolds. Gillespie said that she was elated about the contract ending. Her elder daughter was too. The march went from the state capitol to the city park near the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, where the crowd heard from DPS board president Carrie Olson, treasurer Angela Cobian, several students, and state representative Leslie Herod, a Democrat. She represents Denver and sponsored a police reform bill in the state house last week. Quote, you call your legislator, you tell them they represent you and that you demand action, Herod said, after telling protesters that some of her colleagues aren't totally on board with that bill. And a quick note from the Journal with the Photo Navajo Times that a wildfire was detected in the Chusca Mountains, northwest of the town of Tohatchi on the Navajo Nation over the weekend. The Bureau of Indian Affairs Navajo Region Wildland Fire and Aviation Management announced that it was responding with suppression efforts to this 6.5-acre fire on Saturday. Tohatchi, about an hour-and-a-half drive from Farmington, just south, is a town so small on the Navajo Nation and near Chusca Peak. As of Monday morning, fortunately, the fire had grown only to 10.2 acres, according to the Navajo Region Wildland Fire Dispatch. The wildfire was about 10% contained. Crews were on site working to limit the spread of the fire, but were faced with rough terrain and limited access, according to the dispatch. Navajo Region Wildland Fire warned that smoke from burning debris within the fire would be visible, and the Chusca Mountain Range crosses the Arizona-New Mexico line with a highest elevation of 10,000 feet. In June of 2014, the Asaya Lake Fire burned more than 14,000 acres in the Chusca Mountains north of Tohatchi before it was contained a month later. That according to a report by the Navajo Times. On Monday, a Navajo Nation fire restriction was in place with open burning banned because of a wind advisory and red flag warning that lasted into the evening. The National Weather Service also issued a red flag warning for all of northern and western New Mexico with up to 20 to 30 mile an hour winds with gusts around 45 miles an hour. The Weather Service warned that any fires that develop will likely spread rapidly and outdoor burning is not recommended. That was true for here too. All residents were encouraged to avoid the wildfire area because of the hazardous terrain and spread of the fire. Navajo Region Wildland Fire also asked the public to avoid access roads and trails near the wildfire to protect themselves and firefighters from the possible spread of COVID-19. The Navajo Nation remains one of the hardest hit areas in the country from the novel coronavirus. On Sunday, there were 102 new cases reported, and 3 more deaths related to COVID-19. The Navajo Department of Health, Navajo Epidemiology Center, and the Navajo Area Indian Health Service report 6,020 cases and 277 deaths related some way to the coronavirus. The health agencies estimate that there's 2,727 people who have contracted the virus and have recovered. And the Colorado Sun reports on this hot topic. I hope to have more in-depth report later this week on the real and global concept for changing the authority of enforcement officers, not peacekeepers, to United Nations authorities versus independent communities, not only here in the U.S., but all around the world. So back to here in Colorado, the Sun reports that Colorado Democrats' Sweeping Policies Accountability Bill won preliminary approval on Monday in the state Senate after undergoing a number of changes, including the addition of a prohibition on the use of deadly force by officers unless they face an imminent threat. A photo from AP with David Salubowski. Currently, officers may use deadly force if they reasonably fear for their lives or the lives of their colleagues, and not necessarily if they are facing an imminent threat. The amendment, brought by State Senator Mike Foote, a Lafayette Democrat, aims to shift the standard under which police can legally use deadly force to an objective standard versus a subjective one. Quote, this amendment attempts to, and I think will be successful to, change the use of force and the use of deadly force in the state of Colorado and make it easier for those officers that use force in violation of the law to be prosecuted, said Foote, a former prosecutor. Quote, it will turn out that force will be used less often, end quote. The change was endorsed by Senator Bob Gardner, a Colorado Springs Republican state senator, who has been anxious about the breadth of the measure, Senate Bill 217. The legislation passed by a voice vote and with bipartisan support after Senate Republicans initially opposed the bill. GOP lawmakers lauded policy on Monday, thanking Democrats for incorporating their proposed changes and nodding to the fact that some in law enforcement may still take issues with sections of the measure. Quote, when I first looked at the bill, I have to admit I was pretty upset, said Senator John Cook, a Greeley Republican and Weld County's former sheriff. Quote, it looked to me like it was a revenge or punishment bill. As a matter of fact, that's what I called it. But Cook said that with the changes made in recent days, he is now on board. Quote, I'm here to say I support the bill, he said, adding that he believes law enforcement will also back the measure. There was no opposition to the measure when the voice vote was called on Monday. Another amendment added to SB 217 on Monday prohibits officers from using tear gas on protesters without warning and from firing less lethal projectiles indiscriminately at demonstrators' heads, pelvises, or backs. That change comes after a federal judge on Friday ordered Denver police to temporarily cease using less lethal force against peaceful protesters and stop using tear gas and pepper spray without warning. Judge R. Brooke Jackson also ordered officers not to fire less lethal projectiles at demonstrators' heads, pelvises, or backs. SB 217 must receive one more vote in the Senate before it can head to the Colorado House for further debate. The legislation comes amid 12 consecutive days of protests in Denver in response to the death of George Floyd last month at the hands of police officers in Minnesota. The bill was introduced Wednesday and is expected to pass before the end of the week. In total, there were 12 amendments made to the measure on Monday. Other changes reduce the amount of data law enforcement must collect during interactions with the public and add privacy protections for people recorded by police body cameras when that footage is released. One major alteration gives law enforcement agencies until 2023 to comply with a requirement in the measure that all police departments and sheriff offices outfit their officers with body cameras. SB 217 also requires officers to intervene when their colleagues use inappropriate force, bans the use of chokeholds, and opens up officers to be sued in their individual capacities when they act inappropriately. Finally, the legislation makes it so that law enforcement cannot use deadly force to stop a person they suspect has used a weapon in a crime or is armed, called the, quote, fleeing felon rule, unless there isn't an imminent threat of the person using the weapon as a part of their escape. So keep an eye out for more on the continuing issues of how best our governance and enforcement agencies locally can create a safe and healthy community. Hopefully we'll have that later in the week. And I post up articles of interest and share local information on our Facebook page daily, which is DCTV Daily News, where you can also watch the program replay along with news, links, and stories of local interest. And you too can share other events or news there and join in on the conversation. Again, this is your local community TV station. So if you have something you'd like to share, contact us. The email is dcbnnews@gmail.com, or you can call and leave a message on 970-677-4119. Thanks for tuning in to DCTV Daily News. Programs are broadcast Monday through Friday with replays online on our YouTube channel or DCTV Daily News page on Facebook. And if you like the program, please do like and follow us on Facebook and share it with your friends and family. This has been a production of DCTV for the DCTV Daily News program out of Dove Creek, Colorado, USA. I'm Kendra Cook. Again, thank you for watching.